The Revolution Podcast, Episode 19, Season Recap and Webisodes.
Hi, you're listening to Revolution Podcast. This is Maria Howell as Grace on Revolution.
Golden Spiral Media presents The Revolution Podcast. Support for the Revolution Podcast is provided by listeners like you and our affiliation with HostGator. Not only does HostGator host over 8 million domains and provide powerful, reliable hosting, HostGator is environmentally friendly. Learn more about HostGator and their renewable energy credits by visiting goldenspiralmedia.com/HostGator today. Welcome back to the Revolution Podcast, everybody. I'm Daryl.
And I'm Jeremy.
How are you, man?
I'm about 3 months older. How are you?
I am about the same. I'm just going to make sure the recorder is recording. That's not, for those of you who aren't in the live show, it took me 3 tries to get the podcast started. It took me 3 tries to get one sentence out. So I thought I should double check and make sure we are recording. Because I certainly don't want to have to start this thing over for a fourth time. Yeah. So besides being 3 months older, how else?
I'm 3 months wiser.
Ooh. Well, I would hope so.
Yeah.
Did you have a good Christmas, a good New Year? Did you have a good my birthday?
I suppose your birthday was all right. I think you got me a bunch of awesome gifts, and
I did.
I went and broke them. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Aren't you supposed to get me gifts on my birthday?
No, I don't think that's how it works.
You're like.
It's just my birthday.
You think I'm like Jesus and I just give everybody else gifts on my birthday?
You could be. Well, speaking of which, where's my real gift? Because I'm disappointed now.
Well, get used to a life full of disappointments, Jeremy. You know what? I did get you a gift today.
You did?
I did. I went over to our Cafe Press store. We added some new goodies in there this week. And I ordered you a mug. And I ordered me a mug.
All right.
And so we want to give a shout out to Mark, who's in the chat room right now. He sent us in a great design. He sent it to us a couple of weeks ago, and I got it added to the store today on a couple of things. It's Power is Everything, and the O in Power is the Power pendant. He did a great job recreating the Power pendant.
Looks pretty good. I like it myself.
So that's available in a t-shirt and a mug. And I put together... my best effort at recreating the Monroe militia flag, and that's available on a mug and a T-shirt. And then we've had the Join the Revolution with the power symbol. We've had that in the Cafe Press store for some time, and I don't know that we've really mentioned it that much. But you can go over to, I guess I should set it up to redirect over here at Golden Spiral Media, but you can go over to thefringepodcast.com/shop. And it will take you right over there to it, and it'll redirect you over to our Cafe Press store.
Yeah.
Where you can gear up for your Revolution goodies, or if you're a Fringe fan, we've got some awesome Fringe goodies over there as well. So yeah, check that out. So yeah, I got you a gift.
You did.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I take that back.
I don't know that they will be in time for our next podcast, because I got it with the idea that I would be drinking out of. I got the Monroe militia flag mug.
I'm a revolutionist. So
I just like the design of it. Not that I support Monroe. I just like I think the flag design is cool. So
that's a likely excuse.
Yeah, I'm secretly rooting for Monroe. That's what it is.
I'm rooting for him to catch some lead.
Do you think he's got an allergy to that?
I think he does. It's a pretty bad allergy too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's probable that he does. So we'll see. Do you think he would die by lead, or do you think he would die by steel?
I think it's going to be, ooh.
You think
I was going for lead, but the steel thing makes me
It's got to be wonder. Steel. He's going to die by steel.
You think Miles is going to be very personal about that, huh?
I don't know that it'll be Miles, but it'll be a blade. It'll be a blade. And if I had to put bets on it, I would say it would be Miles that would do it.
Yeah.
So, hey, let me apologize to the listeners. I know most of you are listening to this. Some of you are watching it. I guess either way, you're listening to my nasally voice. I've been fighting a head cold all day. I'm not even sure if it was a head cold. It might be something a little bit more than that. But anyway, I apologize. I've got medication that's allowing me to talk this clearly, and I apologize for my super nasally voice I have, even more so than normal. But
All right. Thanks, Fran.
we'll just trudge through it. So, Jeremy, what do you say we get into some news and info about Revolution?
I say we get into some info and news.
All right. You know what I just remembered, Jeremy?
No, what did you just
I
remember? Daryl?
reinstalled the mute button right over here.
All right.
So if I have to like blow my nose or anything like that, I can self-mute.
Do I have one of those?
You don't have a mute button. It's
I feel-
technically Clint's mute button because this used to be his side.
Right.
And he would sneeze.
Used to be my side, too.
He would sneeze regularly enough that we got him a mute button over here where he could mute
Okay.
himself. But anyway,
Might come in handy today.
it might come in handy for me today. So, they're asking me how old I am. I turned 37 on February the 17th.
Wow.
Yeah. How old are you, Jeremy?
I'm 10 years your junior.
Are you really?
Yes, I am.
27 years old. I always forget how much younger you are than me, and then we'll start talking about like nerd culture, and you'll start talking about how awesome Pokemon and the Power Rangers
I never
are.
once said how awesome either of those groups are.
And I'll be like, those are like way too young for me.
The Pink Ranger was hot, though.
Uh-huh.
First one.
He was, huh?
Well played.
All
I'm
right.
going to go over in the corner now.
Let's get into some news and stuff. The first thing that we want to go through with you guys is to give you an update on the schedule. And I think we are going to get 10 straight episodes. I need to look back at the calendar. But it seems like I looked at the calendar a week ago and determined that if they went straight through,
Yeah.
then the 10th episode would be on Memorial Day,
Mm-hmm.
May 27th. And we found out today that the season 1 finale is indeed on Memorial Day,
Okay.
May 27th. So if my memory serves me correctly, that means they're going straight through.
That sounds
Yeah.
completely logical to me.
So that's good. No breaks. And don't quote me on that. But I'm pretty sure on that. Like I said, I should have checked the calendar on that. But either way, we're getting... Well, if we get any breaks at all, it would just be a 1 week or a 2 week break.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not looking at anything like 3 more months.
That's right.
That's good.
That's right. Now, Jeremy, refresh my memory. Did we talk before the break about the season getting trimmed from 22 episodes down to 20 episodes?
I know that we talked, but I don't know if we talked with a mic in front of us.
I don't know that we did either. They announced this a couple of months ago, at least, that it was getting trimmed down to 20 episodes from 22. I don't look at that as a bad thing. Remember, we talked quite a bit about how are they going to fit in these 2
Right.
extra hours.
Right.
And we thought they might give us 2 hours worth of show a couple of times,
Mhm.
but instead what they've done is they've trimmed it back by 2 hours. So we're getting 20 episodes instead of 22 episodes. It'll be back, as you all know, next Monday, March the 25th, with The Stand, which is a short story by Stephen King.
Oh, all right.
I don't know if it's the same thing or not, but
Okay.
we've
so
seen some Stephen King stuff, right?
Are we going to see anything about Shawshank at any point?
Hey, that would be cool.
I'm thinking that would be a great...
Although we kind of got the Shawshank when they were trying to dig their way out,
That's true.
you know.
I hadn't really thought of that.
Yeah, but The Stand. And then episode 12 will be on April 1st. It's called Ghosts.
Maggie.
You think so?
I don't know. I just see that title, and that's the first thing that popped into my head.
Okay. The first thing that popped into my head was Aaron's wife.
Okay, I like yours better.
But I don't know if she's dead or alive.
Yeah.
But, you know, he hallucinated her back in the episode
Right.
that was in Kashmir. So, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. Episode 13 is going to be on April the 8th. Another Led Zeppelin tune. The
It
song
seems that
remains
way.
the same.
Yeah.
And which we know Eric Kripke is a big Led Zeppelin fan. Episode 14 is on April 15th, entitled The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia. That's another song title. I don't think it's Led Zeppelin, though.
I
You don't
just know
remember that
the devil going down to Georgia.
No, this is a different song. Was it, what was that lady's name? She played Mama's Family, Vicki Lawrence.
Oh, wow.
Vicki Lawrence had a hit with that song.
Really?
I'm pretty sure it was her, yeah.
Okay.
And then episode 15 is on April 22nd. It's called Home.
Promising episode title.
Yeah. And that's all we have in terms of episode titles. Like we said, the season 1 finale will be on Memorial Day, which I don't like.
I don't know if I'll be here.
Who's watching
I guess I'm gonna
TV
have
on
to be
Memorial
here.
Day?
That's a good question.
May 27th, Memorial Day will be the season 1 finale. I don't like that at all.
Thank goodness for DVR.
I would rather them do a 2-hour finale. I think the problem with that is that The Voice is the lead-in for this show. So that means they have to trim The Voice in order to do a 2-hour finale, and they're not going to do that.
So do you think The Voice is going to go until May 27th?
I read today that The Voice is going to go through June, like June 18th or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they're going to skip that week. But no.
Not according. I think I
that.
got that from revolutionison.blogspot.com.
Okay.
That's where I got a lot of our information here in this news and info spot for today. You want to take the next spot there?
Okay. Well, NBC.com actually has all of the episodes up right now, so you can rewatch them and get refreshed. The pilot episode is actually up with commentary from Eric Kripke and Jon Favreau. You say it wrong every time. You do it on purpose. I think you do it now just to bug me. I might, because I think I look at you every time I say it.
You do.
So.
You're like, watch this, Daryl. Favreau.
Maybe I'll just start calling him Favre.
There you go. We've done that before, too.
Yeah. And just a couple of things that apparently we learned during this break. Billy Burke was actually originally cast as Monroe, and this was a part of the commentary, I believe. Is
That's
that
part of the commentary, yeah. Not only that, but they shot like 8 or 9 days with him as Monroe.
Yeah, which is incredible.
Yeah.
I think he makes a better good guy than a bad guy, but
yeah.
I kind of want to see those episodes.
I would like to see some of those takes, yeah. So they had nobody cast for the Miles character.
Yeah.
Had him as Monroe, and then made the switch.
Did they say anything about who they had actually hoped to see in the Miles role?
I don't think they did. They did say that he mentioned to him a couple of times that he would like to take the Miles role.
Huh.
And they had him in the Monroe role, and they finally made the switch. It was one of those things that was kind of like, it needs to be my idea before I think it's a good idea. And it was like one of them had an ephany, and so then they went with it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was cool.
Another one of the commentaries was about the cul-de-sac that we see in the pilot that they have as a village. It was a real neighborhood, and that they moved everyone out, planted corn in their yards, and aged their houses. Is that completely legit?
That's what they said.
All right. They weren't laughing when they said it.
No, it was a real cul-de-sac. They moved everybody out, aged the houses, planted corn in their front yards, threw a bunch of dirt everywhere, and then when they were done, they cleaned it up and made it better than it was when they took over. Yeah.
Man.
That's pretty cool.
So you can live in a house that was once on TV, and it's a whole lot better looking, I guess.
That's right. So those are just a couple of the neat little tidbits that I picked up on as I was watching the pilot with commentary. So that'd be a cool thing to go back and do, like I said, and get refreshed before the season starts in a little bit less than a week now.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about, is that Paley Fest?
Paley Fest was a week or two ago.
Okay.
And all this information came from revolutionison.blogspot.com. They have a great website over there. Go check them out. This is things that was revealed. The Revolution had a panel there at Paley Fest, and so these are some things that we learned at Paley Fest. One is the answer to why the power went out will come soon. Like, soon. They've been speculated, and I don't know how much speculation it was, but they speculated on the website that it might even come in episode 13.
Wow.
And we're coming back with episode 11,
right,
so that's going to be fast.
3 episodes.
Every question that has been asked in the first 10 episodes will be answered before the end of the season.
Okay.
Among those will be, why did Rachel slap Miles? And it took me a minute to remember this, but
I haven't forgotten that.
After she killed Strauss,
right?
Yeah, he shows up. Where is Grace right now? We'll get the answer to that. What was the big event that turned Miles and Monroe against each other? So there's some big questions.
Yeah.
So we're going to get the answer to every question they said, including, we are going to get the answer to Aaron's wife's, her status. I actually do know the answer to that.
Oh,
I didn't
so
put
you're
it in the
just
notes. I'm not going to say what the answer is, but we're going to get that answered here.
Are we going to find that in episode 12?
I don't know what episode it is.
Okay.
And we're also going to be exploring other republics, including Georgia,
All right.
which is governed by President Foster, who's played by Leslie Hope.
And Leslie Hope is a very interesting person. I guess I should show you before I tell everybody else
Oh, is that what you've been doing on your phone
who
over
it
there?
is. Oh, just look. Look with your eyes. No? Don't see anybody? Terry Bauer. A certain wife of a certain Jack Bauer.
Oh, I never watched 24.
And we already have a love interest from Jack Bauer. So now we're going to have two. So I find that very interesting. That I say love interest. I mean, he wasn't a very good husband at all. But
Yeah.
hey, I just thought that was kind of interesting that, I mean, they're bringing in a few people from 24 and I don't know. So we got some Bowers out there.
Oh, I think it's cool. Like I said, I never watched 24. I don't have any knowledge of her.
I forgot you hadn't watched it. So
Yeah.
you wouldn't recognize it.
But I'm certainly intrigued by it. And the fact that you're excited about it gets me more excited about it.
She was just a small character, but I just think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
Well, she's the going to be the leader of the Georgia Republic, so that should be really awesome.
yeah. So was the Georgia, I mean, you talk about that, the night the lights went out in Georgia. So I'm assuming that's when she'll be introduced.
That's got to be a flashback to when the power went out
Yeah.
in her state. Yep.
Yeah. So
Okay, what else, Jeremy?
okay, Revolution starts in the United Kingdom on Sky One on March 29th.
That's right. That's the first episode, so they're just
So
now
they're
starting
just
it.
now. Okay. I was
Yeah.
wondering if that was going to be their pilot. So are they airing it in the same order, or are you
I
aware?
believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess the power hit them, or the lack of power hit them a couple months late.
Yeah, they're
So-
usually behind. I don't think they're usually this far behind, but then
Yeah.
again, Revolution took a long
Mhm.
break too.
Maybe they'll get to see all 20 in a row.
Maybe they will.
So
That's a good point.
Revolution will have a panel at WonderCon in Anaheim, which is Saturday, March 30th. And some more news regarding some of the actors and actresses. Elizabeth Mitchell will be on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon Friday, March 22nd. So tune in to see what she has to say about her character, and hopefully her character. She might talk about something else. So
You never know. It seems like the last time they had Anna Torv on one of those shows,
Mhm.
she barely got to talk about Fringe at all.
right.
So, but hopefully she'll get to talk about Revolution. I want to back up to WonderCon just a little bit. That's a
Okay.
all weekend thing, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The panel is on Saturday, and it looks like it's going to have Elizabeth Mitchell, Tim Guinea, Rambo is going to be there. What's his first name? He's one of the writers and executive producers.
Okay.
Tracy Spiridakos is going to be there. The lady who plays Nora is going to be there. Her name is escaping me right now. So it's going to have a good selection of people that are
Alright.
going to be there.
So some of the people we should expect to be alive at that point in time.
Well, that's just coming up, I guess, next weekend.
Yeah, man. I read March 30th and I think, oh, that's months away.
That's a week from
No.
Saturday. And tickets are still available for that. I checked the website today.
Okay.
So if you're going to be in Anaheim on March 30th, check out the Revolution panel at WonderCon. All right, so that's going to do it for the news. We do have one other little Golden Spiral Media piece of news here we want to throw in, and that is, it is March 2013, and
Indeed.
March, if you're a sports fan, is known as March Madness. But we know that not everybody's a sports fan, and maybe you don't like filling out a bracket for basketball teams that you know nothing about. But we bet you would like to fill out a bracket for Geek Madness. That's right. We have Geek Madness underway right now over at goldenspiralmedia.com/Geek Madness, or you can just go to the homepage. It's right there, front and center.
Yeah.
So if you know anything about March Madness, it has 4 regions, Northeast, South, and West. We have 4 regions. We have comic book characters, sci-fi characters, 80s and 90s cartoon characters, and video game characters.
Indeed. And video game characters, Commander Shepard needs your help. So
he's up against Link.
yeah, but
He's
he could
got
take
no
Link.
chance.
He could take Link in a heartbeat.
No.
Yeah.
So
Link's got a little flute.
what we do? It's not a flute.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Jeremy and I, and Courtney and Jason, all four of us, put our collective nerdness together, came up with a list of characters from these four genres, and then we voted on them all. And then based on that voting, the scoring for those, we cast the round or the pool of 16 for each pod. So you have 16 video game, 16 cartoons, 16 sci-fi, and 16 comics. Mm-hmm. And so they're going through the tournament. You can go vote on them right now. The winners will advance, and we will crown a champion here in just a couple of weeks. So Geek Madness is underway. Go get your geek on.
Huzzah. That's all I have for that.
That was random. Are you just going to throw random huzzahs in?
I can, if you'd like. Huzzah might be my new Indeed.
Oh, is that right?
I got to move on, man.
It's about time you moved on from that.
Indeed.
All right. Jeremy, let's do what we're going to do in the next part of this podcast is we're going to recap all 10 episodes of the season so far, and we're going to talk about the webisodes that they gave us during this long break. So let's do that now. All right. Sorry, I'm dying with my my allergies here, or sinuses, whatever you want to call it. Okay, you want to take the pilot, or shall I take the pilot?
I can take the pilot.
All right.
So, season recap, we're going to do episode 1, Pilot. The series premiere introduced us to Matheson and the village they had settled, to the Mathesons, and the village they had settled in. We get a glimpse of how they've adapted to the world that has been without electricity for 15 years. Their village is then attacked by the Monroe militia, and they kill Ben Matheson and kidnap his son Danny. Ben's daughter Charlie, along with the villagers Aaron and Maggie, begin a journey to Chicago in search of Ben's brother, Miles, so he can help them rescue Danny. Along the way, they meet Nate, a young man who rescues them from a group of thugs, but Nate is later found out to be a soldier of the Monroe militia. They arrive in Chicago, get into a huge fight with the militia group, and then set off to find Danny. Meanwhile, Danny escapes and meets a woman named Grace. Grace has a pendant similar to Ben's, and she uses it to power a computer and communicate with an unknown party. The militia track Danny to Grace's farmhouse and recapture him. And in a flashback in the same episode, we also see that Ben rushes home to warn his family that it's happening. He urgently downloads something onto a USB pendant and tries to warn his brother Miles. Miles, who is in the Marines in South Carolina, is on his way back to base with his friend as he's contacted by Ben, but the blackout happens. Miles and his friend return to base, and it is revealed that his friend is Sebastian Monroe himself, General and President of the future Monroe Republic.
Dun, dun, dun. Forgot I had my microphone muted. Episode 2 is called Chained Heat. Charlie, Miles, Aaron, and Maggie continue to travel together looking for a way to find and rescue Danny. They recruit Miles' friend Nora, who is an explosives expert. They discover that Nora is working with the Resistance, who are trying to restore the original United States. Charlie and Miles split up from Maggie and Aaron, who shows Maggie the pendant the pendant that Ben gave him. Monroe tortures a member of a rebel group that are trying to bring back the United States. Meanwhile, a man shows up at Grace's house wearing a necklace just like hers. His name is revealed to be Randall. We learn that Monroe has Ben's wife, Rachel, and she is working with Monroe under duress. In flashback, we learn that Rachel killed a man who was trying to steal the family's food while Ben was getting his work from the University of Chicago on their way out of the city after the blackout.
Episode 3, No Quarter. Now fleeing from the militia, Nora leads the gang back to camp, only to find that many of the fighters are injured from an earlier trap. Besieged by militia, they try to dig a tunnel and escape. While the rifle Nora stole keeps the militia at bay, they capture the militia's commander, Jeremy, to use as leverage, but Jeremy quickly reveals the truth behind Miles' involvement with the Monroe militia. He used to be the general. Miles gives himself up to Jeremy in exchange for Charlie. Nora and the others getting away free, but Charlie and Nora ambush the militia on the bridge to rescue Miles. Meanwhile, Aaron and Maggie go in search of Grace, but we see that she's gone and her computer has been destroyed. Aaron's pendant powers up unexpectedly, making Grace's CD player and Maggie's iPhone work for a moment, but then it goes dark again. Danny, on the other hand, gets physically abused by a soldier bent on revenge, but manages to even things out. In the flashback, we see, after the blackout, Miles and Monroe go AWOL in search of Miles' family. While on the road, they find a couple who have been killed, and sometime later, they come across a group of men who are attacking a man. Miles realizes they are the same men who killed the couple, and kills them, much to Monroe's shock. The man they rescued is Jeremy.
Dun dun dun! That's going to be my segue for everyone.
Huzzah!
Episode 4, The Plague Dogs. Charlie and Nora meet back up with Aaron and Maggie. Nate tracks the group, but Miles discovers and captures him. After running into a group of stray dogs, Aaron is injured and Maggie is forced to kill one of the dogs. However, the dogs belong to a man who attacks the group and stabs Maggie in revenge for her killing one of his dogs. The group tries to save her, but Maggie dies from her injury. Charlie is captured by the man. Miles frees Nate so that he and Miles can rescue Charlie. They return to Aaron, Maggie, and Nora just as Maggie dies. Danny rescues him only to be put... I skipped here. Danny continues his journey with the militia. While taking shelter in a storm cellar, the roof falls, trapping Nevill. Danny rescues him only to be put back into cuffs. Rachel continues to be a captive of the militia, and it appears she is being tortured for information on the blackout and Ben's involvement. Monroe taunts her with the knowledge that her son will arrive shortly. In flashback, over several years, Maggie searches for a boat to return home so that she can be reunited with her family. However, all the boats have been lost or destroyed in the chaos following the blackout. As she is about to commit suicide, believing she will never see her family again, she is found by Ben, Charlie, and Danny. Some years after the blackout, Rachel tearfully leaves her family to, quote, look for supplies. For unknown reasons, she travels to the Monroe militia, where she is put into handcuffs almost immediately, while a silent Miles in a militia uniform looks on.
Episode 5, Soul Train. After catching up with Captain Nevill and the militia, the group discovers a working steam train being prepared to take Danny to Monroe in Philadelphia. They return and discover Nora has gone to find local resistance and plans on blowing up that train. They are about to question Nate when he escapes and returns to Nevill, who moves Danny to the train and leaves for Philadelphia. Nora plants her bomb on the train, but after seeing Danny on the train, has second thoughts. But she is stabbed by a member of the resistance who is trying to prevent her from disarming it. Charlie and Miles chase after the train, and Miles manages to get rid of the bomb before it explodes. Charlie finds Danny and Nevill on the train, and they fight. Nate joins the fight and captures Charlie, but helps her and Miles escape. The train arrives in Philadelphia, and Monroe shows Rachel that Danny has arrived. She explains she was also part of the project that Ben was working on, and she draws a picture of the pendant explaining that 12 of them exist, and that they are the key to getting the power back on. It is revealed that Nate is in fact Tom Neville's son, Jason.
Dun dun dun! Oh, it's not my turn yet. Sorry.
No. Flashback. Tom Nevill is shown to be a sensitive man who is reluctant to stand up for himself and instead takes out his anger on a punching bag. A few weeks after the blackout, his next-door neighbor attempts to loot the house and winds up trying to kill Tom. A shocked Jason who had been taught by his father never to hit another man, watches as Tom kills the assailant in self-defense. As he recovers from the brutal reality of the post-electricity world, Tom insists that his young son should also learn how to defend himself.
Dun, dun, dun. Doesn't really have an effect there.
No.
You mispronounced that last episode title. It's not Soul Train. It's Soul Train! You got to do it. You got to do it right.
I gave it a little long soul, but I can't do it like you.
Not the same.
It's
just not the same.
You got the talent.
All right. Episode 6 is called Sex and Drugs. Nora's condition worsens on the journey to Philadelphia. The party must find antibiotics in order to save her life. They're forced to turn to a drug kingpin named Drexel, who provides medical treatment, but not without a price. In return, Charlie is tasked to assassinate the head of a neighborhood family who has burned down Drexel's poppy fields. Miles escapes from Drexel's compound to rescue Charlie and stops her before she completes the task. Drexel is furious and makes Nora and Aaron fight each other to the death, but Aaron comes up with a ruse which leaves Drexel dead instead. Miles, Nora, and Charlie and Aaron reunite and continue on the trek to Philadelphia. In flashback, Aaron recalls his experiences on the night of the blackout, and in the months that followed, he and his wife succeeded in fleeing the city and joining up with another band of survivors. He leaves his wife and the rest of the group because he feels that he doesn't have anything to contribute to the group.
Episode 7, The Children's Crusade. Rachel and her son reunite. Charlie and the gang run into a group of children whose parents were killed by the militia about 8 years ago. Miles and Charlie devise a plan to rescue their captured leader, Pan. Though they want to do it alone, some of the children follow them, including Peter's brother, Michael. Charlie lets the militia capture her and becomes a conscript. She escapes with Peter, but she is branded with the Monroe militia symbol on her wrist. Miles and Nora also come to her aid, but Miles sneaks in, is captured, and used against them. At a nearby lighthouse, where Aaron and the children are staying, Aaron's pendant randomly starts working, lighting up the lighthouse, whose light distracts the crew of the ship while Charlie, Nora, and Miles kill the crew and free everyone. Back in Philadelphia, one of Rachel's old co-workers, Dr. Bradley, is captured due to the information Rachel had provided. His daughter is hurt and captured to force him to reveal all he knows about the blackout, including the location of his pendant. Miles asks Aaron for an explanation about the lighthouse, and he is forced to reveal the pendant to Miles and Charlie. Meanwhile, it is revealed that Grace is being held captive by Randall in an unknown location. Flashback. Prior to the blackout, Rachel, Ben, and Grace worked for a company trying to create renewable free green energy. However, their experiments have the opposite effect and instead cause a blackout in a localized area. Demonstrating this to Randall, a member of the U.S. Department of Defense, they are promised contracts to experiment further, but Rachel has reservations about the experiment being weaponized. But the son she's expecting is gravely ill, and Randall offers her a chance to enter a maxed-out medical program that may save him.
I'm so glad you got to read that really, really long one. I'm really struggling tonight. All right, next one, Episode 8, Ties That Bind. Nora encounters her sister, and she must make a difficult choice between family and a promise to rescue Danny. Meanwhile, one of the most ruthless members of the militia is tracking Miles. Charlie and the gang and General Monroe hands Major Nevill... I'm reading this all wrong, aren't I? There's like commas where there shouldn't be commas. Meanwhile, one of the most ruthless members of the militia is tracking Miles. That's so weird. General Monroe hands Major Nevill a stern warning. The locations of numerous pendants are revealed on a working computer screen in the unknown location where Randall is holding Grace prisoner. In flashback, Nora is shown to have been a teenager at the time of the blackout, as well as having a younger sister. Living in Texas shortly after the blackout, the two flee the home of their mother for their father's home in Galveston, Texas. When they arrive, their father's nowhere to be found.
Dun, dun, dun. Episode 9, Kashmir. Charlie and the group get closer to rescuing Danny. With the aid of the rebels, they use abandoned subway tunnels to get under the walls of a heavily defended Philadelphia. However, their efforts are impeded when they begin to hallucinate due to oxygen deprivation after a subway tunnel collapses. During his hallucinations, it is revealed that not only did Miles attempt to assassinate Monroe, but also that Miles fears that if Monroe asked him to rejoin the militia, he would abandon his friends and do so. Meanwhile, Rachel, still under duress by Monroe, purports to be building a device to enhance the radius of the pendant devices. But Rachel's former colleague, Dr. Jaffe, reveals it to be a bomb. In order to maintain her usefulness to Monroe, Rachel kills Jaffe. Flashback. Unlike other episodes, there are none for this episode. Instead, the characters hallucinate. Miles hallucinates about seeing Monroe again and him asking him to join the Republic, Nora about being bitten by a crocodile, and Aaron sees his wife again. Charlie dreams that her journey so far has been just that, a dream.
All right, and the fall finale was called Nobody's Fault But Mine. In episode 10, Aaron, Nora, and Charlie are captured while hiding at the home of a friend of Miles. Miles takes Neville's wife hostage and exchanges her for their safe return. Neville returns Aaron and Nora and directs Miles to a defunct power plant where Charlie and Danny have been taken. Charlie reunites with her mother Rachel and her brother Danny at the plant. Rachel successfully completes the pendant amplifier before killing Strausser when he attempts to assault her. As Miles and Nora rescue Danny and Charlie, Miles faces off with Monroe. Monroe forgives Miles' treachery and pleads with him to come back and join his side. Miles tells Monroe that he has made his choice and he will side with his family. All of them escape after Aaron blasts a hole in the exterior wall of with Nora's pipe bombs, but stop in their tracks when they hear a thundering sound and see a militia helicopter take flight and prepare to open fire on the group. In flashback, the lifelong friendship of Miles Matheson and Sebastian Monroe is explored in a series of flashbacks working backward through time. 5 years after the blackout, Miles and Sebastian are fighting in the Trenton campaign. Miles is injured Miles is injured and he wants Sebastian to lead the soldiers. Sebastian doesn't leave his side and pledges his life to Miles. During the next flashback, Miles comes to Sebastian, who is drinking and completely depressed. A nearby 4 freshly dug graves that belongs to his family, and it's 2 years before the blackout. During the next flashback, both of them are playing together as kids. The mark of the Monroe Republic, the deep origin of the M. Of the M insignia is revealed. And so that's going to recap the season. And we want to thank the folks over at the Revolution Wiki for much of that content. I reworded a little bit of it, kind of shrunk some of it down where I felt we could. But most of that information that we just read came from them.
Very helpful. And I noticed how you kind of mentioned fleshly dug graves, but you caught yourself there, so that would have been kind of a gruesome.
Yeah, that's a different show. That one's called The Walking Dead.
Indeed. It's back.
All right. So, Jeremy, did you watch the webisodes that came out throughout the break?
I did not catch the Wheatley letters, but I did watch Enemies of the State. And
which were the flashbacks, I was going to say about Giancarlo Esposito, but
about
Tom Nevill. Yeah.
About 11 years before the blackout, or after the blackout.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about each of those. Wheatley, if you guys will remember, in the episode called Kashmir, which is the one where they are going through the subway tunnel, it collapses, and they all of a sudden run out of air, even though it's a huge subway tunnel, and they start having all these hallucinations. They finally get through the subway tunnel. This guy that had been leading them turns on them, kills the crossbow girl that we had, or the longbow girl.
I forgot about her. I miss her.
And then Charlie kills him, but he also fires off a shot at her, and he grazes her. Well, that guy that turned on them, his name was Wheatley. And if you'll remember, Wheatley was a member of the Monroe militia, but when we picked him up in the episode Kashmir, he was undercover in this rebel group. And so these Wheatley's letters that we got in these webisodes during the break kind of fill in the story on how Wheatley got into that position and what his circumstances were that led up to the point where we saw him in Kashmir.
Right.
So it kind of filled in a neat little story right there.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and take the first one, Wheatley's letters. May 7th, Wheatley and a group tried to attack a group of rebels, but were overtaken. 6 militia were killed. Wheatley escaped, changed clothes, and was taken in by unaware rebels the next day.
Yeah, so that told us how he got into that position.
Right.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think I've actually seen that now that we mentioned that.
Yeah. You and I talked about these not too long ago, last week maybe.
Okay.
And I said I had watched one of them. I rewatched them all over the weekend, and I had actually seen 3 of them. I've seen them all now.
Okay.
But, yeah. So, yeah, that's how he got into the group. The next one, which was dated August the 10th, Wheatley sends an inventory of rebel weaponry and supplies over to Monroe, and he sees an easy opportunity for them to take down this resistance, these rebel fighters. And so he asks Monroe to send him just a few troops because they're going to go off on this raid and leave themselves totally vulnerable. They won't have any weapons or anything like that because they don't want to carry extra weight. And nothing ever comes, though. And so that's where we pick it up in the next episode.
All right. Which is when Wheatley is very upset that no one from the militia ever came. And he wants nothing more than to kill every militia member, but now they have moved on to other places, and his intel is void.
Yeah. So he's starting to get very frustrated at this point because, like it just said, all this work that he had done is now back to square one. So that was dated October 15th. Then we have a big gap all the way through the winter. March the 3rd is the next one. Wheatley is disgusted that he had to sew up an American flag to keep his cover. The rebels, they're clueless. They have no idea who this guy is. They promote him to sergeant, which is a higher rank than he ever had in the militia. And then he is upset with Monroe because they're in action. The militia's inaction is causing militia lives because this rebel group is going in and slaughtering people, militia people.
Right. And in the, second to last Wheatley episode, Wheatley was camping when the blackout occurred, and he didn't realize what happened for a couple of days. His sister and her children were killed soon after. The world was chaos until the militia restored some of the control. However, the rebels seem happy, and he wonders if he's missing something.
So this was interesting because this kind of gives us, obviously, Wheatley's backstory when the lights went out. He was out in the middle of nowhere, so that's why he didn't know that the lights had gone out. His flashlight went dead, and he just assumed the batteries died. Didn't think anything of it.
What about the planes falling and crashing?
Well, he was totally out in the middle of nowhere, and then but he talks about how there was total chaos and disorder until the militia came along, but then he looks over at these rebels and they're happy, they're having a good time, and he's like, maybe I'm missing something here. So I thought that was interesting because we see that he never does turn, he never does fully side with the rebels. But you can see him starting to have doubts at this point. I'm going to apologize here for my voice. The last one, which is dated May 23rd.
No.
No? That's what you just did, isn't it? Yep. September 15th, rather. Wheatley admits to killing a fellow militiaman the night of the original attack so that he would not be captured by the rebels. He is fed up with hanging around the rebels, and when Miles walks into camp, he sees an opportunity to get out of the rebel camp and lead Miles into a trap in Philadelphia. So that brings us full circle.
Right. He should have listened to his instincts, if you ask me. But
Yeah, he should have. He should have. Particularly since Miles, he went over a year. Miles is completely ignoring him.
yeah.
He's dead to him,
Mm-hmm.
and he's still staying faithful to him. Cost him his life. All right. And then they gave us another series of webisodes. And these are the ones that you were talking about that
Right.
gave us the backstory of Miles' departure and Tom Neville's.
Arrival.
There you go. Yeah. You want to take the first one there?
All right. Part 1, Philadelphia. 11 years after the blackout, Tom arrives in Monroe's office and learns that Miles has just defected. Miles almost killed Monroe, but stopped himself. Miles and Tom are shaken because Miles knows everything and is always 2 steps ahead of everyone else. Tom is ordered to discover all who helped Miles and kill every one of them.
And then in part 2, Tom is visiting a brothel and finds himself alone with a blonde woman. He mentions that he is aiming for the position that Miles abandoned, and her body language changes. He reveals that he is there because he knows that she has info on Miles. He threatens her, and she gives him a list of people that met with Miles in the back room of the brothel.
All right. In part 3, Tom captures one of the militiamen who helped Miles, and the captured man tells him that he only did it because Monroe has gone insane. He kills for no reason. He tortures, and he's obsessed with power and getting the power back on. He is stockpiling weapons, vehicles, and missiles at Independence Hall and tells Tom to go look for himself.
All right.
Did you watch episode 4?
Was there 4?
There was a 4th.
I guess I totally missed
right.
that.
Well,
Tell me about
I'm trying to remember the beginning of it, but the end of it, here, I'll read the summary real quick.
Okay.
After completing his investigation, Will Neville's unquenchable curiosity put his life in danger? He goes down into Independence Hall and investigates, opens a window on a door, and there's a woman, and he's like, a woman? And some guy comes up behind him and puts a knife to his neck, and you get a black screen.
Oh, wow.
So it was kind of good.
Do you know who the woman was? Or the
No,
man?
they don't tell you who the woman is. So, but
Huh. I don't know how I missed it. I don't know if it just came out after I put these notes together or if I
Yeah.
just totally missed it.
so.
So, go ahead.
Do I was just going to say the Enemies of the State, which are the live action about Tom Nevill.
Uh-huh.
I absolutely loved those. It really kind of shows you the growth of Tom becoming more and more ruthless, and he's doing whatever he can to get whatever he wants.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
It
So,
definitely was. You kind of saw him at the beginning. I mean, he's a little timid around Monroe. I don't blame him for that. But he sees an opportunity for advancement, and he's stepped up to the to the opportunity, I guess you could say. So, Jeremy, I'm going to go off show notes here for just a minute,
Okay.
and I'm going to ask you what you think we're going to see in the next half of the season. Do you have any predictions or things you'd like to see or anything like that?
Well, I mean, the obvious, I think we're going to see the answers we've already talked about, that we will find out more. I'd like to see the helicopter crash at the beginning of episode 11.
Now, have you watched the first minute?
No, you know me. If
Okay.
it's anything remotely spoilerish, I won't
Yeah.
watch it.
Let me say, I'll let you get back in just a second. All the webisodes and the first minute of the next episode, episode 11, are all available on the NBC website, nbc.com/revolution. And then click on the exclusives area right there. There's an exclusives tab or whatever you want to call it. And that's what'll get you all these videos. But the first minute is available on the website, but you haven't seen it.
Right. So, I'm sorry. And as for, I mean, what we hope to see, as always, I'd like to see character development. I'd like to see Charlie begin to grow up more. I'd like to see Monroe catch that bullet or the steel. And overall, I think where this show is heading is very promising. They say we're going to see Georgia. I know we all want to see more of the country, and I think there's a lot of potential there. I mean, we're going to see what this revolution is really about. It's not just about the power going out and getting Danny back. It's actually about something more important than 5 people running around with no purpose.
I kind of feel like this first half of the season is really just the preface to the story.
Right. It's the prologue.
There you go. That's exactly what it is. It established the characters and set up the story in a deep way. We now understand the world they live in.
Right.
They got this long break, and I don't know whose decision it was or why it came about, but really they got as much time off as you would between seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, it really is almost like season 2 that they're starting this next week.
Right.
I see Elizabeth Mitchell taking a much more lead role. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the plan. I said this on Twitter the other day. Somebody asked me this, and I said, yeah, I see her taking a lead role, and I think that was the plan from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of our Twitter followers, I think it was the Unibeefer, he said, well, it can't have been that way from the beginning because they replaced that actress. He thinks that was a decision they made when they replaced that actress. That's why they replaced that actress.
Okay.
And you know what? I think we're splitting hairs here because that obviously happened before the show aired. But I think he's right. I think he's more right than I am.
Right.
But they were leading up to this point. Now Danny's back. Rachel is there. Miles is there. Of course, Ben is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie is there. So now it's almost like a different show. And I think Elizabeth Mitchell will have... you don't put Elizabeth Mitchell in a show as a 5-minute per episode character.
Right.
She's worth more than that. Mm-hmm. And they know that. That's why they got her.
Yeah.
So I think it's just going to take on a whole different role and be better than ever before.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned that, and I think one thing that I would like to see go away, and I think they might actually be moving towards this, is the flashbacks.
Okay.
As helpful as they are, I mean, we've had some sort of flashback or illusion in every episode. So now that we've gotten to this point, what we might see is more advancing. We've rescued the rescuing.
Right.
We've done everything we need to do. Now the war started. Like we said, it's the prologue. So I think removing the flashbacks, once we answer all of those questions, essentially, we're not going to need them anymore because, like you said, we've already set the foundation. Now we need to drive that force forward.
Do you think that them coming out saying that all questions that have been put on the table so far, which to me does not mean a question that is put out
by
on
us.
Monday night.
Right.
But questions so far, or like you say, questions by us, the questions that they have put out there, all of those questions are going to be answered. Is that a good sign or a bad sign when you hear that type of information coming out from the show?
I don't think that's a bad sign in the terms of longevity of the show.
Right.
What I do have some concerns about are whether or not they can actually meet the promises they're making. I've had several people tell me that the ending of a video game is going to be wonderful and how it's not going to be ABC, but instead when you get to it, it's green, red, blue. So vote for Shepard. Anyway, so I think that it's a good thing that they are aiming to answer these questions and keep us driving. Like we were talking about in the beginning, they were moving at a good pace, and a couple of times we mentioned, man, this is almost too fast. I don't think that's bad. I think what they're trying to do is resolve it in case this is the end of their show. I don't know if that's the case at all. Or at the very least, move it into a different direction in the next season. So,
I think it's more that second part, and not necessarily in an unintended direction, but
right.
Look, this show has got so many directions they could go.
Mm-hmm.
There is literally an entire world to explore here. Right now, we have seen only a small bit of the northern part of the U.S., north central to northeastern U.S., and only a little bit of that.
Right.
We know that we're getting into Georgia, but even beyond that, like I said, there's literally an entire world here. So for me, when I hear them say that we're going to get all those questions answered, to me, it's not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of they're afraid the show's going to get canceled and they want to get some resolution. It's a sign that these weren't the be-all, end-all mysteries.
Right.
These were the mysteries to get the story started.
Right.
And we got a long ways to go here. Mm-hmm. And that excites me.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're going to see more from, like you said, Georgia, and we're going to see more from the other republics, other areas of the United States. So, I mean, we might focus on Georgia now. We might focus on Oklahoma later.
Yeah.
I think they called it Oklahoma, right?
You know, you said that. I was just thinking of the fringe map in the red verse. Oklahoma was part of Midland. It was Midland. It was part of what is now North Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas.
I was trying to omit the T word. So
yes, we are part of Texas.
No, we're not. We're Oklahoma.
I'm confused.
You're confused. Okay, well, I'm sorry. And then we move off to the West Coast. And
now Zeppelin Driver in the chat room makes a good point. We'll have to talk slower if we're going to be going to Georgia.
Well, I think us Oklahomans have the slow talk covered. So.
You're probably right. Which I'm surprised Yogabon hasn't said something because she's from Georgia. She's in the chat room right now too. So anyway, Jeremy, anything else on the show or predictions you want to make or anything else like that?
I'm sticking with the predictions I made at the end of the first half of the season. So
okay. All right. Well, we have some feedback for tonight's episode.
Okay.
And I'm going to let you read it because I'm struggling so much. It's long. I'm sorry. I would normally take the long ones, but tonight I just can't do it.
All right. Well, I don't want to.
You know what? I'll play the feedback music,
hey,
though. That doesn't require me to talk. I have missed that music.
I didn't know how much I missed it until I heard it. All right. This one is from Jim in Wisconsin, and he says, "Hey, boys. Nice to see you're back in the saddle, so to speak. I'm not sure what you'll be talking about on the Revolution podcast tonight, aside from the season recap, but I thought I'd send in some feedback from the Webisodes that have been featuring the Elder Nevill. I really like now they've decided to give us a sliver of information regarding Miles' departure from the militia. I know it's only a few years back, but Tom seems to be a bit timid when it comes to talking with Monroe. It kind of helps show how he's grown more confident in his position. The conspiracy group that he was hunting down is a nice twist to the plot. I've always thought that Miles acted alone after some internal moral struggle. It's nice to know that we'll have some other friends out there to find as the season continues. I wonder if they're the reason that the neighboring territories are coming together to start a war. If they only knew about Monroe's airship." Nevill also finds who I assume to be Rachel in the holding cell, though I am curious as to why it would be such a big secret that he wants the power back on. Who wouldn't? Especially if you're the one to control it. I think that the conclusion to Neville's capture may show us that he's been given the ultimatum to follow along with Monroe, or being made an example of. I've said it before, and I'll keep saying it till it happens. Tom Nevill will eventually turn on Monroe to either join or die saving Team Miles and his son. As for the rest of the season, I'm really hoping to get back to Grace and Randall sometime soon. They're obviously working on something pretty big, and we need to know what it is and why Randall has waited 15 years to fix it. That plot line seemed to be quite promising, and we only got short snippets here and there. I hope the helicopter doesn't meet an untimely demise in the first episode back. It would be a shame to lose the power generator right away as well. Though one well-placed RPG could make a fiery mess of Monroe's new toy. I'm still on the fence about Rachel. There's more to her than meets the eye. She's a transformer, I guess. The hope that gets expanded on as we go as well. I hope that gets expanded on as we go as well. She has a lot of explaining to do to her kids, that's for sure. And of course, I hope we find out why the power went out in the first place. I'm sure that'll be a part of the season finale, and will probably have something to do with the cliffhanger itself. Here's hoping for a strong finish to this season and an early renewal for a second. From the corner of Shut Up and Stay Here, Jim in Wisconsin. I miss the corner of Shut Up and Here, I have to say. It's my favorite corner from Wisconsin.
Shut up in here or shut up and stay here?
Stay here, yeah, same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to hear from you, Jim.
Indeed.
He's in the chat room right now.
Or huzzah.
He talked about renewal there at the end of that feedback.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? When will the show be renewed? Will the show be renewed?
I think the show will be renewed. When will it be renewed? I don't know. When's a good time for it to be renewed?
You know, with Fringe, it got later every season. You know, I would say that had they come back in February and had already had a few episodes under their belt, it would have already been renewed.
Right.
If the ratings were there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say week 2, after episode 12.
Okay.
If after 11 and 12 they've had good ratings,
okay,
they're going to get renewed. 13 at the latest.
Right.
That's my prediction.
Okay. I think you're right. I'm concerned that it might not have the ratings that it did have before the long hiatus, but I think that a lot of fans will come back to catch it, especially with the show that it follows. So
yeah,
that'll probably still help with that.
You mean that leads it in?
Yeah.
Yeah, that it follows. I got you now. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely going to help.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great show. I love The Voice. If you set me down and maybe choose between The Voice and American Idol, it wouldn't even be close.
I'd pick the sing-off, given that choice.
Well, that wasn't an option, but if you add that in there, I forgot about the sing-off. I love the sing-off.
I do too. I don't know if it's ever coming back though.
I don't know either.
So
Maybe like it's the summer show, but I haven't seen it in any of my summer show.
It was winter actually.
Research. Was it winter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we didn't have it this year.
No, we didn't.
So
yeah.
Who knows?
Well, thank you, Jim, for sending that in. Did you have any other comments you wanted to share on his feedback?
He has some, as always, a lot of points that make me think, and he talks about the woman in the cell being Rachel in that webisode, which we kind of want to assume, but it kind of makes me wonder, is there another woman? So, who knows? I am against him, though, when he talks about the helicopter meeting an untimely demise. I want it to crash, and
do you?
He doesn't. So
I still, Jeremy and I were watching. Well, I was watching the fall finale when Jeremy got here this evening, and so we watched about the last 5 to 10 minutes of it together. And for the life of me, I can't understand why this helicopter. Charlie doesn't know what a helicopter is. Okay, I'll give her that. So she's probably dumbfounded at what this flying machine is.
Mm-hmm.
But the Rachel, Aaron, Miles, they know what a helicopter is. And it's sitting there hovering, not right above them, obviously, but hovering above them. And then the gun turret starts, and they're just standing there looking at the helicopter.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to run as soon as, it starts, Monday night. First thing we do is finally see them run, but
right.
I would have run as soon as I saw that thing, peek up over the wall.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that they have for them is it's been at least 15 years since anybody has flown one of those and tried to shoot a minigun.
Yeah, but that they'll be maneuvering that thing like they.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if we have any excuse for somebody being a stormtrooper when they're trying to hit a target,
yes,
this is it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not flown a helicopter. Assuming he flew a helicopter the day before the power went out, he's not flown a helicopter in 15 years.
Right.
And he's got to remember how to point the thing down and not crash it. So
right,
because they don't fly level to the ground. They pitch forward. So
right,
it's going to be interesting to see.
That won't be an issue.
I know, because he's an expert. Yeah,
that's the way this show has always been.
I know.
The good guys get away, and the bad guys get hit in the first shot.
So what happens when all the good guys die? Boom! Every one of them gets lit up, and Monroe is the star of the show.
I'll have my mug with the Monroe flag on it.
Huzzah! All right, there you go. You get to use some real context for that. So.
Again, want to encourage you guys to go over to nbc.com/revolution and check out all of these webisodes. I'm going to be checking out the one that I missed. But the Wheatley's letters and then the live action ones with Giancarlo Esposito are really, really good. and they're really short. They're all about 3 minutes long at the longest, and so it won't take you long at all to go through all of them. Again, the pilot is up. All 10 episodes. If you're in the U.S., all 10 episodes are available for free on NBC.com, and the pilot is available with the commentary from Jon Favreau and Eric Kripke, and I recommend that. So go get caught up and get refreshed and get ready for Monday night, March 25th, which is this coming Monday.
Yeah, and I think they're up for a limited time. Do you know if that ends Monday?
I don't know.
Okay.
They didn't call me and tell me.
Well, I didn't know if you just happened to see.
And so that means that we are going to be back on our normal podcast schedule, which is what we're doing tonight, Tuesday night. Today's Tuesday, March the 19th. So we'll be here a week from tonight, March the 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We would love for you to come join us as we record the podcast live. We have the webcam going and the chat room so everyone can hang out, watch us do the show, interact with us, and interact with each other. That's happening over at goldenspiralmedia.com/live. Again, that's Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern. And then, of course, on Monday nights when the show is airing in your time zone, the chat room's there also at that same address, goldenspiralmedia.com/live. And we're all in there hanging out and chatting while we're watching the episode together. So we invite you to be a part of that as well. Our contact information, if you want to get a hold of us and participate with the show through feedback like Jim did tonight, you can send us an email over at feedback@goldenspiralmedia.com. You can give us a call on the Golden Spiral Media voice feedback line at 837-304-2278. And you can also go over to our website and click on the SpeakPipe tab on the right-hand side of the page, and that will use your computer's microphone to record a voicemail that you can send in to us for the show.
All right. You can Twitter us at GSM Podcasts and Facebook us at facebook.com/Golden Spiral Media. And thank you for listening to our podcast. And don't forget to rate us and review us on iTunes or whatever program it is you use to listen to us.
That would be awesome.
So,
if you're interested in advertising with us for this or any other Golden Spiral Media podcast, we'd love to talk to you about that. You can go over to goldenspiralmedia.com/support. There's opportunities there to hit up some of our affiliate links to Amazon, Newegg, ThinkGeek, iTunes, etc. You can also send a donation over to us that way. You can also go over to the website, goldenspiralmedia.com/advertise, and there's a place there where you can fill out a form for our advertising opportunities. This is a listener-supported podcast, and anything that you can do to help support what we do here is very, very much appreciated. All right, Jeremy, anything else from you tonight before we sign off?
I have nothing else.
You have nothing else, huh? Well, that is all I have as well. Good to be back in the saddle, man.
I hope it's a two-seater.
It is. It's I guess instead of the saddle, we could say what do you call those motorcycles with the sidecar?
Sidecar.
Yeah, you're in the sidecar, I guess. So.
I'd rather be the sidekick in the sidecar than the sidecar itself.
Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining us for this episode of the Revolution Podcast. Looking forward to chatting with the second half, about the second half of Revolution starting next Tuesday. Take care, everybody. The Revolution Podcast and Golden Spiral Media are not associated with Bad Robot Productions, Kripke Enterprises, Warner Brothers, or NBC. Golden Spiral Media's use of any and all copyrighted material is only for parody, news analysis, critique, or educational purposes as provided within United States Code Title 17, aka Fair Use. For advertising opportunities, live show, and other Golden Spiral Media podcast productions, visit goldenspiralmedia.com. Copyright 2012, Golden Spiral Media.